Thanks for that. Also, picking up on a couple of themes that we spoke about earlier, I'm going to try and address this issue of software and hardware. I like that from Daryl and from Duncan, that sort of notion of knowledge transfer, which I hope to showcase a little bit when we talk about who we are and what we do. But first of all, what our real essence is as an organisation is helping to create spaces and places where people can connect with themselves, friends, family, and most importantly perhaps nature, particularly when we're in such an extraordinary place as we are. So first up, I thought I'd show you a little video. Hoping it works. Do I need to click again?
We believe Mother Nature always has our back, and it's high time we had hers. We are the caretakers of breathtaking pockets of our natural world, places that always were and always will be Aboriginal land. We're an honest bunch who believe that enabling moments of true connection is the best job in the world. We know. You know. Life's better outside.
That's our manifesto for who we are. That's how we sort of try and think about it. And ultimately, as I said, it's this idea that life really is better outside. So what we're trying to showcase is that we're different. We're really different as an organisation. What makes us different, first and foremost, is that we look after 40 parks, of which about 26, 27 are in this North Coast region. So we're heavily focused on that. But these are pockets of Crown lands that we operate. We also operate 45 reserves. In total, we've got something like 24,000 acres of land across New South Wales that we look after. And we think of ourselves as stewards for that land, for the people of New South Wales. All of our profit that comes into the organisation is reinvested back into the properties, into the maintenance, into building new places, new spaces across the state. We're certified as a social enterprise model, and we partner greatly with councils. These are some of the operating models of who we are. We were sort of constructed about 10 years ago from councils having parks come into different entities that ended up becoming sort of a company called Reflections. We then made a decision that we had to just sort of fit in and find out what this holiday park world was like, what camping was. After doing that, we decided the next step from fitting in was standing out. That was the launch of this brand that you see, and this was brought up earlier, but how every member of the team, and we've got about 480 staff that work for us, the pride that they show in what we do and who we are is represented in the way that they wear their uniforms and the way they talk about the country. We decided that we needed to do this to move, as I said, from just sort of fitting in to standing out, to really representing the country, the places where we operate, and the people who we operate for, and the customers. And we did this by building the brand. And I just want to show you a little element of the new brand and how we bring that to life. The CMO, Pete, who's up there in the corner there, wanted me to also reference that we haven't actually spent $7 million on bringing this to life. He wishes that he had a budget of $7 million. It's far more reduced. So let me just show you a little bit about that.
We have such an incredible product and people that are up here. And my job in this is to bring the brand up there too.
There comes a time, I think, when you mature, you get to a certain maturity as an organisation. We've discovered who we are, about nature, adventure, and grounded in the communities and the places we belong. Let's build something for who we are now.
The current brand colours, that combination of primary colours, depicts us as a certain type of product.
When people turn up and they expect a traditional holiday park experience with all the amusements, they're let down because it's not who we are. I think the current brand misrepresents us.
The biggest aha moment was when the guys came in and started looking at the use of colour to tell the story.
This colour that differentiates us from other competitors might also just be the colour that best communicates what we're about. Nature itself can provide a beautiful modern palette. We pair it with a piece of typography that feels like a moment of action. It feels like it's got energy to it. It's about getting outside, getting dirty. What would reflections look like carved in a tree? What would it look like drawn in the sand? Combine that with a new name.
Reflections is what everyone really knows us as and calls us. And holidays is key as well, because ultimately that's the business that we're in. A brand that doesn't pretend to be something that it's not, but isn't limited by being just one part of who we are. We have a very, very clear story. I think about the mark, what we call our gathering circle. It represents people gathering around a fire, telling stories, sharing and making memories.
You know, people come to parks and a lot of them sit in circles yarning. That's been reflected across many, many years where Aboriginal people have come together and sat and yarned and talked about their stories.
And the third aspect to our story is water, the one thing that unifies everything. The ripple effect that you see in water when you're often looking at a reflection is captured inside our gathering circle as well.
So how does it all come together?
I think the end result is where it's really special. I think it's fresh, I think it's contemporary, I think it's honest, I think it's us.
Complexity is real simple. Simplicity is super hard. It's just having to break this thing down to make sure that it fit who we are, reflections, nature, community, connections, all in one statement. And I think it does that. So our job really is this notion of trying to reimagine camping. You know, camping is one of those odd phrases. It immediately brings certain elements to life. I mean, if I asked you about camping, the most immediate thing you think about is, okay, I've got a backpack and I'm going to walk in somewhere and I've got a little tent and I'm going to pitch it somewhere. Often the words that also come from that is, my God, that's hard, what about the weather, etc. We're trying to reimagine how people see about camping, what they think about camping, because in reality it's everything from that person with the backpack, the in-hiker. But it goes through from that. It's people that are taking their tents with them in cars or in camper trailers. It's caravans, it's RVs. But increasingly, it's moving beyond that. It's moving into the realm of tiny homes, cabins, and finally into that sort of, I guess, camping for people that don't like or think of camping as places where they're going to have to carry their own stuff and have difficulty setting stuff up, to glamping, where it's really for people that their idea of slow room service is really sub 5-star. So we're taking that up to imagine what it is. And our goal within that is to deliver $1.3 billion in revenue to the communities we operate in. And our second goal, we only have two, is B Corp. And you heard Daryl speak about that. We're on that journey. We're about 2 years into our progress on that B Corp side of it. And we'll be the largest accommodation provider that gets B Corp status when we achieve it. So I'm going to take a little bit across that to talk to you about the things that make great experiences. What are the things that define great experiences that really make places special? And we know that you guys here in this region have plenty of those. And we are so pleased to be up here operating in this on our biggest area. So natural assets, I've spoken about the size of us from a perspective of acres that we look after. But 2 million people come through our parks every year. So our parks, some of our parks are big inland parks that sit on large dams and large bodies of water. In fact, we've got 10 of those. And they're also open for people to come in as users' day visitations. People come and use them as their recreation areas. So any of you that are familiar with like Lake Keepit, for instance, up at Tamworth and Gunnedah, for those people, for those communities, our piece of land that we look after, which is somewhere in the region of about a couple of thousand acres, is where people come and day trip and they go sailing, they go water skiing, they go fishing. These are these breathtaking pockets that we look after. But above all, above everything else, we have to have a purpose to be able to do this. And like Darren has said, we believe that to be good, you have to do good. And part of our job is working for these communities across New South Wales, and is to do this notion of doing good. We try and live by our values. We believe very much in them. We have 4 values that dominate and not dominate, are the key values for the organisation. Grow together, say it, do it, make a difference, and care deeply. And perhaps that last one, that notion of caring deeply, is most deeply enrooted into the culture that we're trying to grow inside the organisation. So we have partnerships that we do this on, and one of the themes I think that you're going to get, hopefully you're going to get from me speaking, is this notion of partnerships. Because we can't operate successfully without those partnerships, whether they're with councils, whether they're with communities, whether they're with operators. Our philosophy is fundamentally different to a lot of other park groups. What do I mean by that? Our job isn't to keep people in our park by giving as many facilities in that park as possible, whether it be cafes, hairstylists, amusement arcades, whatever. Our job is to help people find a place to stay the night and go out into the communities, find the experiences, find the coffee shops, find the local operators outside, not inside. We just look after that little patch. We help protect and look after people when they're there to give them the experiences to go outside of that. We partner with groups like Landcare. We've just done some dune regeneration work. We have a partnership, a great partnership with Ozfish that we're growing in terms of how people look after their tackle and their bait, how they look after their waste when they fish and stuff around fishing. We're moving on with that. Beacon Laundry, a laundry supplier with us who looks after people who have difficulty in finding jobs. We partner with them to try and help grow their business so they can bring more people that have difficulty getting jobs to find a job. We recently operated with Ballina Council when we closed one of our parks during the floods and turned it over to the DCJ to operate for people that found themselves homeless after the storms had come in and taken away their homes. We also operate with councils. In fact, we just done one with Byron, whereby we put hot water into one of our amenities blocks that stands in one of our reserves, just so homeless people could get a chance to have a hot shower in the mornings. So these are things that we do as part of our organisation, making it somewhat different to a whole lot of other groups, but really is foundation part of why we were formed, why we were brought together. Our people, and we all know this is key, talking about our 4 values earlier, but to build world-class experiences, you really can't do it with having a world-class team. So one of the things that we did is that when we first got our parks together, in fact, we only finished it last year, we had 65% of our parks were operated by contractors. We made a massive decision that if we wanted to grow the organisation, if we wanted to become a B Corp, and we wanted to work in our communities, we had to be one. So we terminated those contracts, and then everyone came into a team model, so they all work inside the organisation. 65 to nearly 70% of all the contractors then came and worked with us, which we're very proud of as part of a transition that was very difficult to do, but an important part of how we grew. Our people, therefore, when we talk about this thing, and again, it was referenced earlier, the empowerment for them to be able to make differences. And it is fundamental. You know, it's weird how sometimes there's little tiny interactions with people when you can hear about a story about a place, when something can be brought to life, or when a difficulty can happen. Parks make these things happen. As you all know, everyone sort of in COVID, there was a massive influx to go and buy caravans. I cannot tell you how many people get their new caravans, come to one of our parks and go, oh shit. How do I get in there? There are many, many marriages that have been saved by our park managers who have said, let me show you. Let me get into this thing and park it for you. These are the kind of things that make a difference, and these are our park managers that go out on their own to deal with that. Park managers have a very, very big part of how people feel when they go to these places. Whether it's welcoming an indigenous language, whether it's helping to showcase where the best walks are, where the best experiences are, or even where good coffee can be found. These people make a difference. They do act as that concierge for it. Community. We are a community. Our parks are parts of community. We play a role with your communities, and we really deeply value that. Whether it's from sponsoring a little so-called soccer club, an arts trail down at Bermagui, all of these things are things where we help contribute, and we believe our role will be judged by you in the way that we operate and engage with the communities that you live in. At Red Rock, we're the only post office and only shop in town. Over last summer, we raised $80,000 for Westpac, etc. The point being is not to showcase that we're good and good people, but saying that this is what our job is, to be part of your community, and we relish that opportunity because we're looking after places of special value in your communities to do that. These parks, these breathtaking pockets, and we do have some of the most extraordinary places in New South Wales, and again, many of those are here. Cultural tourism is sort of the third or fourth of our pillars in how we grow these experiences. And we've partnered now, I think, about 23 different experiences across our parks with Aboriginal companies. Some of them are not companies, some of them are just individuals that come and showcase at certain times, whether it be arts and crafts, whether it be painting stuff, or just on basket weaving, or just telling stories. We're also hoping to grow that more in terms of land care. And partnering there. So that element has got to come to life. And the first thing we do is we showcase it. We showcase the country we're in and the language we're in when you go into any of our parks. We put a lovely arts trail in at Jimmy's Beach as an example of it, to show people how different culture comes to life in that park, and how different symbols and different places mean different things. So, world-class experiences. We've already told you we've got world-class pockets of land. We believe we've got one of the best teams around. We think now, how do we bring those experiences to life? What are those experiences? And first of all, let me say that this idea of memories, I'm a massive fan that moments create memories. Little tiny moments that people have in their holidays, moments of places that they see. And not all of these have to be big experiences. They can just be small, little tiny moments that people have when they're there. For connections, I believe passionately that parks, going camping, are the places where you get the most extraordinary interactions. I'll give you a couple of examples. So I used to work in hotels. I worked in hotels all around the world. I have never been in a hotel where I've been in room 126, and I've gone along to room 127, knocked on the door and said, hey, what's your room like? I've been in plenty of hotels whereby I've got into an elevator, gone up, walked along the corridors, gone to my room, and not spoken to a single person. That does not happen when you go camping, right? When you go camping, it's like, hey, come on in, let me show you my rig. Look what I've done with it. I've just jacked this up, I've got this. Oh my God, that looks great. You want to stay for a while? Sure, it's 4 o'clock. People do that. The other side that we've noticed is for a lot of solo women travellers, and this is a massive cohort that's growing and growing, both in terms of walking and also in terms of camping now. They feel a deep sense of security when they bring their caravan in, and they come in and they park up in the middle of it, and people start talking to them, and they don't think it's weird. They don't think it's odd. They just think it's part of who you are. When you have your families, we look after parks where we've had people, and I spoke to somebody, 60 years she'd be coming to our park at Urunga. 60 years. She'd grown up with the families that come around there when she was a kid. Now she's bringing her own kids back. She's about to bring grandkids back. This is not unusual. This is camping life. This is a camping world. And people do that. And it's those connections, those people that you meet, those connections that you have that really brings this thing to life. So our job in creating those experiences, just be there, look after them and be part of it. Acknowledge what our responsibility is. And if we can do Friday fire pits when we bring people together, then brilliant. If we can light that fire with marshmallows and say, come along and join us, brilliant. If we can be there and put on an evening of trivia, then we'll do that. And that day, if we can be there and we can put on a display there to commemorate that particular time, we will do that. That is it. They are like sort of mini communities inside the bigger communities that we're in. One project, okay, this is an interesting one from a little sort of scoreboard part of it. We also run a lot by NPS. And we have a company that we work with called Capiche, where we come out and evaluate the scores. And we did, because some of us do nerd out on such things, realize that 1 point difference, okay, so if you move from 64 to 65 on your NPS score, was worth $307,000 to us as an organisation. So we looked at it, and we looked at some of the biggest thing inside a park that really contributed to that in terms of NPS. Most of you will be able to guess it's amenities. We then set about a program that if we could raise it by 8 points, just think of the revenue that we're going to be able to do it. So we came up with the idea that we were going to try and create the world's best amenities block. So I went out to everyone and said, okay, look, what does that look like? What is the world's best amenities? I mean, obviously, it's going to have a nice shower, it's going to have good pressure, it's going to have hot water, it's going to be clean. What else? So currently, we are spending a little bit of time inside the organisation to build the world's best amenities block. It involves everything from colours, signage, smells, music, art, lighting, cleanliness, service, everything else is part of it. We're trying to build that to look what it's going to look like. And I think we're about maybe 3 months away from announcing this and launching this. But we will build our first trial World's Best Amenities block and see what it looks like. Because we know that that will make a difference to people when they come and stay. And I can see by just a couple of nods that most of you, that a number of you agree with that. It's very exciting, quite challenging, and probably quite expensive. But not when you offset against the $307,000 per point. What else are we doing that we think reflects some world-class experiences that bring stuff to life? Some of it is basic. You see that in the top left corner, that's Byron Bay. That's camping. Now, most of you that know Byron Bay know it as having some fairly wealthy people who live there and some fairly high prices to stay there. You can go along here, right at Clark's Beach, and just stay there on that site and camp for $40, $50, $60 a night. So one of the things that we've made a pledge to do is that we would not, I mean, if I owned this personally and was purely beset on the notion of money, I would basically not have a single campsite in this park. It would be all cabins, and there'd be $600, $700, $800 a night each. But we made a pledge that we will commit to making sure all of our parks, wherever they are, like Byron or Seal Rocks, that they have places where you can just go and pitch a tent for the night and still have some world-class experiences, because I defy you to find any other view in Byron like that where you can stay for the night for anything close to $50, $60. Hikes, and that was very good that Michael, when he was talking about all your hiking and stuff that's going on here, we're trying to connect up hiking routes with our parks. And one of the things that we're also trying to do is to move our group so that we also do more into the wilderness part. Because one of the things within camping is everyone moved a lot into these holiday park notions, built cabins and built families and family fun there, which do very well. But not many people have spent a lot of time in this section, which is the wilderness and primitive camping sites, which are the places for you to go and camp when you go on walks and hikes, whether it be drive-in or walk-in. So we want to do some more work around those and develop more of those across the state to try and help us grow and bring these places to life, because we believe that hiking is a major growth, and we see it all the time. And again, I think many operators here, and Daryl's nodding, would agree that it's a great space to get into. There's a shitload of baby boomers out there and people in their 50s that want to spend time, that are fit enough now to go and do these things. So let's help us bring them to life. One of the things perhaps I'm most excited about is this barefoot luxury up in the top right there. So Lake Keepit is in that sort of big sky country. It's called Big Sky Country. As I said, it sits on a couple of thousand acres of land. We have a campground there with everything from tiny homes, off-grid tiny homes, through to cabins, through to camping, through to caravan places there. There's also a gliding club in the park as well. There's a fishing club and there's a sailing club in our park. But we're going to we're building, in the process of building, it'll be open March next year, this interpretive centre and glamping park. And this glamping park is going to have these 8 beautiful glamping tents that are on stilts looking out over the lake and connected to a lodge. And in this lodge we're partnering up to bring an indigenous interpretation of the night sky. So instead of just looking at it from a Western construct, we're going to look at it from an Aboriginal construct, and we're bringing that to life that's going to play out for people. The tents themselves have great big clear panels so you can lie in your bed and look up, bathtubs on the deck, all the things that you might need to just sort of really bring that to life. But most importantly, it's that sense of place and telescopes, all that kind of stuff that we're helping to develop out there. So this idea of bringing these extraordinary experiences to life, and glamping is key to this, whether it be Terrace Reserve, with what we're looking at doing there, whether it be Lake Keepit, down at Lennox Head. This is something we're spending a lot more time and focus on, because we believe that is a unique way to get out and experience camping without having to go out to spend a large amount of money on kit. Not that you shouldn't do that, because we're keen advocates of you doing that as well, just in case there's people out there. Simple things, putting on sunset drinks for kids at parks like this, up at Burrinjuck, where you can just go and feed the kangaroos with appropriate vet and quality food that we're giving them, but where you can do that. In fact, I was up there just a couple of days ago, and even though you might see kangaroos all over the place all the time, especially those of you that live out in more rural areas, just that power of connection with an animal just does something. It doesn't matter how many times you've seen it, how many times you've been there. So bringing those experiences, letting people do that, or the opportunity to bring down the native birds and do that, or just even a chance sighting of a platypus or any of the other flora and fauna is really a way of us getting those experiences that make it unique. And sometimes that one little interaction will make that difference. And I go back to what we were saying at the beginning, really, is that creating moments to create memories. Massive fan. Those little tiny things are enablers to really bring people to life. And I also believe that being outside, that sense of being in nature and connecting with nature, whether it's a tree, whether it's a kangaroo, really makes a difference on how you feel. And in today's world, that's super important. Toasting marshmallows, Seal Rocks, guest lounge. We put this up here. It's just a lounge area that anybody can use, again, whether you're camping or whether you're staying in one of our cabins, and you can go and do that. The managers put on a fire during the night, every night during the weekend, or every night during the school holidays. People come down, have marshmallows, just go in there and just watch sunset. Just watch sunset. Simple but beautiful from a unique location. And last thing is, we also have some really odd sort of areas as well. This is Nora Head Lighthouse. Beautiful, stunning place. In fact, we've got cottages up at Yamba as well. And here we've got these cottages we look after, and that's a unique place for you to have events there. But it's also a fantastic place to go whale watching. So these are the kind of things and moments and the experiences that we are trying to do to sort of create a little bit about what Reflections is, why we're different, and what makes those experiences. But underneath that, you've got to have the teams, you've got to have the culture based in the organisation, the communities that you work for, and the places that we are lucky enough to look after. So that's what we think. That's our idea around how you create world-class experiences. It's everything from as much as Lake Keep It, down to that moment when you toast a marshmallow and look at sunset with partners and friends. And the other thing I just want to sort of leave you with is a little story from myself here. And one of the reasons why I'm such a passionate advocate for camping, so after I graduated in the UK, I went to work summer camps in the US, and I remember teaching at some of these summer camps over there. I had that sort of feeling of looking after people and kids and helping them explore. And I firmly believe that kids these days need those opportunities, need those places. And so it's also a place where, as a dad, you can take your kids out and you can show them how to wet a line, show them how to make a fire, show them how to ride a bike, be with them as they learn and grow. It's an incredible place for interpretation, to be able to take your kids and to be able to do that with it. And I really would like more and more for us to be able to grow in our ability to help parents find places like this, to be able to go and be with their kids and help them grow in ways perhaps it's more difficult to do in urban environments. So we really believe life is better outside. Thank you.